So we prepared ourselves in a certain way to be able to grasp more refined feelings. We started Michael as the central example, a central experience to grasp the proper attitude, the appropriate way to commune with archangels, which is God. Archangels are not separated from the one God. It is this, there is only one divinity. It is invoking a specific aspect in a way that is easier to understand and feel for a human, more intelligible for the mind, more available for the heart. Okay? That was Raphael. We'll go to Gabriel, the strength of God. Gabriel is one of the middle pillars on the ninth sphere, archangel of the ninth sphere, which is the vital plane and the will plane, the ethereal plane, the area of willpower, whose God's name is Shaddai El Chai. Don't need to take this in note until you learn the 50 names. Because on each of these spheres has a way to address God. Heye, Iya, Yahweh, El, Elohim Gibor, Elohim Tahad, Yahweh Tzebaoth, Elohim Tzebaoth, Shaddai El Chai at the ninth sphere, and Adonai Melech, God is the Lord, King of the world, and the 10th sphere. So the ninth sphere, we say Shaddai El Chai, the Almighty Living God. So in that plane there is life and there is might. And Gabriel is the archangel with the frequency the closest to the physical plane, because it is the ninth plane of life, as opposed to physical plane is 10. Okay? So since the energy plane, the frequency is so dense, it is dense enough to be seen in its effect. So when you invoke the power of God, the strength of God, the movement of creation, you can see the matrix. You can see the vibe, the electricity in things. And this is why most people say the messenger of God is Gabriel. It is the only reason for that. The messenger of God is Metatron. We say Gabriel is the messenger of God because he is the archangel frequency, the closest to the physical plane, and he is the aspect that has been seen the most often. And it is the aspect as the closest to human senses, human physical senses. So it is so rare that Raphael was dense enough to physically be perceived. And so rare for Michael to be so dense to be physically perceived. But it is often Gabriel that will be dense enough to see, I actually seen the shape or something. You know? Sometimes it will be like physically really there. So because of this proximity to the living world of mass and matter, it is the one that is most often seen, and because humans see it and acknowledge it, have a lot of conversation with it, I will say, Gabriel gave me a message, he's the messenger of God. Okay? But that's just the side effect of his presence. He's very present to the physical realm, because he is in the vital plane mostly, in the consciousness of great life. Now remember, this morning I told you BR is this first creative force that initiated the word bara. And because of the BR is the origin, it is also the first two letters of the Torah, the Bible, in Hebrew. Bereshit, which means in the beginning. Ber is in. Reshit is the first, beginning, the origin. Bereshit bara Elohim. In the beginning, God created. Create is bara, okay? Bereshit bara Elohim. So the BR concept is invoked in the first phrase of the Bible. They are the first two letters, BR. And they are the first verb, the first action in the Bible, the act of creation. Okay? Bereshit bara Elohim veta, and it goes on. God created the heavens and the earth. Bereshit bara Elohim eta aretz et hashayim ve'ad haaretz or something. I forgot the exact spelling, saying of that. So that BR is that original impulse. Okay? And that original impulse, BR, is carried over throughout the entire universe. This feeling of going into is initiated by a contemplation. The Hebrew people go like this. Imagine a camel crossing the desert. It took the waters, and with this water inside him, crosses the desert. And this is a metaphor of some force, some power that is very noble. You see the face of the camel, like a very refined Englishman, yes. You know, having this feeling of nobility. Okay? And it took water at the source, in the origin, the symbol of the origin, which is a source, and carried that feeling of the origin, barra, and carries it all across the desert, the place of abandonment, the place where the sun shines and where everything is golden. The sand is golden, the camel is golden, and in the heavens is golden, the sun. And everything is that primordial energy that goes into. And Gabriel is the one that takes that energy from the source and brings it throughout the entire desert, and is just on the edge of the physical plane, and he delivers us that divine energy. Okay? So this movement of power, this crossing of the desert, of the emptiness, is G. Okay? And in Sanskrit we'll say to go somewhere is Gata. You know, gate, parasan, gate. It means to go further and to go even further and to cross that. Okay? And the Bija mantra of Ganesh, which is Gang or Gam. Gam when it is the matrix energy moving, Gang when it is the state of wisdom inspiring. Okay? The movement Gang. And this is how they name the most important stream of water that comes from the source, Ganga. Okay, the thing that moves. That's the name of the river. Okay. So that movement, that coming in from the source of the creation power, is Gabriel. Okay. Gabriel. And Gabr, which is the movement of that original power of defining things, in the dictionary became Gibor. Gibor is power, strength, effort, depending on the context. Okay? So the fifth name of God, Elohim Gibor, the divine expression of force, Gibor, This Gibor is what Gabriel is made of. That power, Gibor, that strength. So, Gabriel is the feeling of divine power. Now, there's a trap there. We say that the virtue is hope, because when you feel the intervention of that divine power, you feel the presence of God, that everything you do it with God. Gabriel. Now look at your ego. Start to say, I am powerful because of that. Okay? Don't go in that trap. Feel the power of God. Feel yourself strong. But that strength is bestowed by divine energy. Contemplate the feeling of willpower. You know, before Raphael was there to go in the feeling, yes, I'm going to go take care of it. Gabriel could not come and lead that effort. Okay? Before you had the will to do it, the decision to say, yes, I'm going to be careful about and take care of stuff. There was not that power that could come. So Gabriel, contemplate mindfully the lower abdomen. But Gabriel it means, the dictionary, this power of God, it's the feeling you have. But the Aleph Bet, the syllable interpretation, means coming from the higher source of creation and incarnates in my body. Because El means this consciousness that came in. El is the consciousness that comes in. So every word of God, most archangel, 8 of them, it finishes by El. Okay? The first one and the last one of the 1 and the 10 ends with on for another reason. Okay? That I'll explain later. So this El means consciousness coming in. El, that became the Islamic Allah. Okay? Allah, the God. Al is God, Allah is the God. Okay? So Allah, when people pray Allah, they pray exactly the same God you're praying, by the way. There's no way. They don't have Allah and we have Jesus. No. It's Allah. Okay? This consciousness that comes in. Okay? El is that incarnation aspect of God. The coming in. So Gabriel is that coming origin invading us with that power. So you contemplate Gabriel. Everything I do it with God. So you keep a positive attitude. Gabriel is that positivity. That willpower that you have, it comes from the origin, from the source. And you can feel your lower abdomen pulling from your crown chakra, that energy. You contemplate there, naturally it just pulls in from the source, from the heavens. And it goes through you. And you feel it investing you. And your will, the will comes from here. The guts. The willpower is that feeling of the heart pubic area that comes from here. You go like this, you have the lower abdominals that just contract. Yeah! Okay? This is the feeling of Gabriel, the willpower here, right? Gabriel is willpower. The mistake to do is to think that is your power and that you are so powerful, and then you start to become arrogant again. Alright? Contemplate, feel. It's not that transcending. This one is very close. And you can feel your butt, your sacrum, your coccyx, the lower spine. the lower abdomen, the lower hips, kind of charged with some level of power, you know. And I have all tingling in my feet. That's a consequence. For some people, you might have a little pressure in the feet. It's normal. It mostly happens at the lower part of your body where you receive. This is the receptacle, that's the grail. Now, imagine the shape here, like some kind of martini glass, right? That's the Holy Grail, okay? Right here. That's where immortality is developed. That's where the blood of the Christ goes into. Okay, that's the part of us where Gabriel flows from the origin, coming from the source, moving into us, filling our vital plane. It is standing on the base of the cup, which is the physical realm. And you can feel sometimes your mouth watering when I talk about this specific experience. Yes, that's the water of life that your saliva glands produce some saliva because very small particles of immortality are going into that. The liquid of immortality actually happens in your mouth. At the Taoists, they explain this, right? About the experience of extension of lifespan. And I told you that tomorrow there's going to be, no, I didn't tell you, I told just a few. Tomorrow there's going to be a little parenthesis about the alchemical process of the human nature to bring it into a state of immortality, okay? It's useful to having gone through the secrets of immortality process where I explained the Hindu avatar process and some approach of what is the mind state that your human must have for the experiences of immortality to be able to come in, okay? But this long life, this extension of lifespan, this more abundant resource, this energy to just do whatever you want always, never to feel too weak, never to feel too tired, it comes from this cultivation of Raphael's, I'm going to take care of it, this health aspect of the Grail. And Haniel's aspect that we'll cover later on. And Gabriel's life, which is the substance of life in the Grail, received streaming down from the pouring into the vases. You know, I told about the vases. They say it's a vase, just pouring in the water, it overflows into the other. And you have this energy that flows into here, and this is seated on the stand of the world. Okay. Gabriel, feel. And if you are humble because you have the Michael aspect figured out and practice, you will feel that power can densify, that wisdom of Michael, that humility and feeling of the presence of God that comes from Michael can densify, become life and will and motivation and determination in the body. And that will elevate the frequency of life in your body. You can even feel your physical body affected by that. Just an intensification of your chi, your life force, okay? And that will give you a bit more determination. There's another archangel about determination, which is Gabriel, that will come later. That one is the resource to act, the fuel, the hydraulic dam. It's your aeolian, your provider of life. Your dynamo, energy generator. Gabriel, receiving from the source of creation. Gabriel. Being filled by the source. Gabriel. 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 Paying attention to your base chakra and your hara. Gabriel. You can feel the ointment like an oil slowly running on your crown and coming into you. Delivers the waters of life in your mouth, coming into your abdomen, and feel the base of your body, recharging your life batteries. Gabriel. Have faith in that resource. It is an infinite resource because it is directly coming from the origin of the universe, creation itself. But it will only fill you while you take the time to contemplate it. Take the time every day to fill yourself of the power of God. Gabriel. I am filled by the power of God, the strength of God. Gabriel. Breathe in, relax, and come back here. Gabriel.
Where does my cup runneth over? Where does that come from?
What?
My head is anointed with oil. My cup runneth over. Where does that come in with this? My head is anointed with oil. My cup runneth over.
It is a feeling that comes naturally. It is not understandable. It's just if you can contemplate Gabriel for so long, you'll feel it in your abdomen, and eventually you'll feel this weird feeling coming up your head like this. Because it is pulling this power from the crown chakra into, and as your crown chakra opens, it feels like if something gooey was running over your skin, and you feel anointed. Okay? So if you contemplate the intellectual wisdom, I'm putting oil somewhere and my cup is filled, it won't make sense. It's just that once you have experienced it, you really feel like there was oil coming, okay? And at the crown chakra, in the Buddhist fashion, we would say Omarapachana Di, and Di means ointment, okay? Omarapachana Di is that like mantra, okay, Manjushri mantra of, yeah, that oil that just will happen eventually, you know? So it's nothing that's supposed to make sense intellectually or where it comes from. It's a feeling, they have described it. When you'll have it, you'll say, I really feel like something's pouring in me. That's it. And when you're overfilled and just this power goes everywhere around you, that is your Shakti. Yeah? That's your energy. What that runneth over. I mean, I'm so filled that the cup will even overflow to everything around me. That's when this energy sinks into the physical body, when we consider it's coming down into the lower plane. And that's also when we say this energy also overflows to others, and you have a radiance, like you can feel the tingling of electricity around the body. What John has been describing to me this morning, and what Absagin was describing yesterday, when I said it's harmonic resonance, I am invested with this experience of Shakti, okay, the Hindu would say, because my Kundalini is holding strong, and my mind is set on this experience of powerful intervention of God, and I radiate that Shakti on you, and you feel that thing, and because of the resonance, your Shakti is awakening, your vibration is awakening. Okay? So if you feel that, and you're intensifying of the electricity, that's your Shakti. It's being triggered by my Shakti. I do this so to cause that resonance. That's initiation. Initiation of consciousness is I go into a state of being so absorbed that it will radiate, and that radiance through harmonic resonance will trigger yours, and you gain the wisdom. Okay, that's initiation. That's how it works. Okay. I like to cover like the many aspect, Hindu, Buddhist, Christian, Kabbalist, and various ways to look at a single thing, a single phenomenon. Okay? And that is Gabriel. Gabriel. The power comes from the source. Gibor, Gabriel. So what is Haniel? Haniel is the grace of God, depending on the translation, depending on the context. Because it could be the joy of being with God. Okay, in a certain way, Haniel in the dictionary is the grace of God, literally. It is the feeling of enjoying God. Okay? And you see that experience of enjoyment when taken out of the feeling of wisdom, when taking out of virtue, that enjoyment becomes luxury. Okay? If it is localized on yourself, you'll just want to enjoy God. Okay? There's another level of enjoyment, which is tzadkiel, which is very different because we call it justice. Actually, it's making sure everyone enjoys it in the same quantity. In this case, Haniel, the grace of God, okay, what God gave us, is different than the feeling of grace of God we receive like contemplating Mikael. Okay? Haniel is often translated as the joy of God, or the enjoyment of what God brought. Okay? So to understand better, let's go with the syllable Aleph Bet. Understanding. Ha. When you go ha, you're expressing something. Ha. There's expression. Okay? The feeling of that. Ha. Ni. You remember the N, which was tangible? Remember the N, which is the fish, which is tangible, materialist, crystallized in nature, manifested? In this case, it's not na. Na is that presence of tangibility. Ni is something of a higher nature. So if you remember ma ni in Om Mani Padme Hum, ma ni. Ni is the jewel aspect of the word jewel because it is tangible yet of a high nature, E. It is noble because E is that idea of high consciousness. Okay? So Ni in Mani means this substance that is tangible and very precious and noble. So we say it's a jewel. Mani is a jewel. That's how the Sanskrit speaking people named it. So in Hani, you have this Ni, which is what is noble in the manifested world, what is of a higher nature, yet tangible. So Hani is the expression of God in nature in a way that is noble. And that expression of enjoying nature comes, it comes into the world. Okay? So Haniel is how God came, through natural expressions. So it's enjoying the good things in nature. Okay? And that is why it is charity. When you imitate Haniel, you are bestowing that enjoyment to someone else. To act like Haniel is to provide something for someone to enjoy God. Hence, the virtue of charity. And when you go against Haniel, you're taking for yourself only. Remember, charity is for everyone, including yourself, but others have to partake of that. Okay? Out of devotion, you will imitate Haniel. So Haniel is a feeling not of I will receive the enjoyment of life, but as Haniel, you also want to feel that expression, like receiving it and bestowing it on others. You want to express it. I want to express what is beautiful. Which explains why in the sphere of Netzah there is this creativity, like in music. I want to express what is beautiful. So in this seventh sphere of Netzah, there is, those who don't know Netzah, I'm sorry, that seventh sphere, which is the higher intellectual ability to create. It is creative. Okay? It is not the sterile intellectualism. Sterile intellectualism happens in the eighth sphere, the emotional plane. Okay? Because you repeated your math table, 2 times 2 equals 4, 3 times 3 equals 6. You repeated those tables so often that you became charged with that structure, and it is the emotional charge of what you have it's the emotional charge of what you have memorized that makes it stay there. Okay? And when you understand something through passive contemplation, you look and you look and you look and you understand something, you go, ah, I get it. You have an emotional response when understanding happens, which makes you remember. Okay? So the difference between the emotional mind and the intellectual mind, okay, because both are the mind, and they're both together are in relationship through that, that little line between the 7 and 8 plane, okay? There's a relationship there. This is your psyche, your psychology, your entire mental and emotional aspect all together as the mind, okay? The human part of the spirit, okay, as opposed to the soul level of spirit. So, in the seventh sphere, the mental plane, creativity happens. It's more active, okay? When you have an understanding through contemplation, it is your emotional plane feeling. Okay, you're looking at something, oh, I understand it, and it becomes logical. Because you can draw lines and make a chart and make it Cartesian and organized and everything in the eightfold fashion. Like a square, and a square like this, and both imbricated, and you have this like kind of diagrammic, I don't know, octogram that inspires you the idea of a Cartesian mind. Okay? And in the seventh sphere, we think the mental plane is about understanding. The mental plane is when you produce thoughts. It's not when you understand, when you gain thoughts by observation. It's when you produce new ones, creativity. Okay? Because you like to express stuff. It's when you talk and you invent new things. It's when you dream. It's your imagination. It's when you produce thinking. As opposed to on the eighth sphere that is still thinking, it is induced. Okay? Understand this little difference? Okay? So the intellectual mind is both in the eighth and seventh plane of consciousness. Okay? In the seventh plane you have Haniel, this expression of the noble things in nature. And you come into that area. So the grace of God is what God provided, what He expressed, what God created. Okay? The creativity of God as the creator is the first and the third sphere. The first sphere is the origin, and the third sphere is that I'm going to create, bang, producing in a very broad fashion. As opposed to the seventh sphere, creation happens in a limited way, very localized. You're building something. You're repairing. You're making stuff to work together, okay? And your mind is implicated in that feeling of working with the tools you have, okay? So it's the same part of creation that is in the third sphere when God, the creator, wanted to produce the rest of the world through the abyss and individualization of consciousness and all that stuff, okay? The name of God in the third sphere is Yahweh. And the name of God in the seventh sphere is Yahweh Tsebaot. It means it's the same Yahweh, but acting in very different ways. Tsebaot means legion. Okay, many little Yahwehs. Okay, so each of these Yahwehs are you, your mind. Okay, so the archangel Haniel. And now we'll go into the contemplation, so you can relax the thinking process and go into the contemplation. Haniel is a divine expression in nature. Haniel. Feel the feeling of enjoying the good things in life. Feel the feeling of receiving resources. As much as you are charitable for others, God is charitable with you. Feel the gratitude, and gratitude is essential. Thank you. Thank you, I'm so happy, God, that you have provided the food, the clothing, and the shelter for so long, because today I am alive. The feeling of charity and gratitude, which is an expression in nature. An expression that you can feel, that is tangible and obvious. Feeling that you're so happy to receive the resources from God. And through imitation that you love to use these resources yourself and share them. Haniel. 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 And you feel that grace of God. Haniel. The good feeling of gratitude when we are sharing. Haniel. 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 And there is love. There is love. There is joy in the mind. I'm happy. Haniel. relax and come back here. When we feast, we celebrate, we eat together. We contemplate the experience of gratitude of what God hath provided for us to partake of His greatness. Receiving the grace of God or the joy of God, which is Haniel, can mean both. Is celebration. It's the reason we party. It is the reason why we take the time to underline something, to make clear that it felt good. Okay? In the mind, feeling good. There is a higher mystery at this level, which is forgiveness. Usually forgiveness is the solution to anger. But there is something special about the forgiveness in that aspect, where to enjoy things, you cannot have your mind burdened by negativity. Huh? The Father, or the guy in charge in heavens, is holy. His kingdom is coming and His will is done. He provides the bread, the resources, and forgiveness. Okay? Forgiveness to release your mind. Okay? Forgive me. Oh, I have forgiven. Huh? Forgiveness aspect of accepting the grace of God. God touches me when I have the experience of forgiveness as a whole. And forgiveness is not only I forgive, I am forgiveness. Forgiveness is there is the forgiving. Forgive. To provide. Forgive. Okay? Forgiveness comes from the idea of God provides in a certain way, but at a very philosophical level, okay? And it also has to do with the grace of God. Receiving His grace, forgive, okay? And the question of, yes, I will be able to come back and eat at the family table because they're not angry anymore at me, okay? To establish good relationship with people because we act out in a way, out of charity, that is forgiveness. It comes from the idea of re-establishing good relationships so that everyone can benefit from the resource, hence the virtue of charity. Okay? Understand where forgiveness comes from? And even in Spanish and French, it's perdono. Okay? To give. Okay? Then there's forgiveness, and then in the eighth sphere, the release of temptation, the release of desire. When the emotional plane works good, the release of desire, so that you will not cause more suffering, okay? And the freedom from evil also, okay? And then, because everything belongs to you. At the 10th sphere, Ato, Malchut, Geburah, Gilgula, Leolam, Amen, they say in Hebrew. So, to you, the heavenly one, is the real, the power, and the glory for eternity. And eternity is that 10th plane, by the way. The earth, the physical body of the universe, is called the eternal formation. Okay? Olam Yesodot. Oh, my little song, when I go at the end, Levana Olam Yesodot. Amen. Levana is the moon. Olam Yesodot is that part. And then we're done with everything. Amen. It is thus. Okay? That was a little parenthesis on the link with the prayer of Christ, the Lord's Prayer, and the feelings of the feelings of the archangels, how they work in that. So yes, we'll need 2 card drops, one for me and one from for the wise man there. Can I give it to you? Thank you for that. You see, that's for giving me a card drop. All you way out there, for give me something. 2, give me, yeah. Just so you know that. I'm going to enjoy the card drop. I'm trying to pay attention to my newborn taking action. Intellectually speaking, it's not obvious to make something logical out of all that angelology, but as a fundamental existence, an experience of life, a hum, you know, the Buddhists would say hum, to have it in your guts, feeling of that partaking, of sharing, of being together, okay? That's the intervention of Haniel. To say that you're not guilty anymore, you prodigal son, I will kill the lamb for you and give you resources, because even though you felt unworthy, I took you back in, no? So forgiveness and sharing is the same experience for the soul. It's just for the human mind that separates it. Okay? Forgiveness is, I don't agree with you, you're still an asshole, but I'm gonna pretend that's pride. Okay? I'm gonna, no, I forgive you, but I don't forget you. So forgive, but not forget, alright? I don't want you to do this to me again. Okay? Well, that's not forgiveness. Forgiveness means maybe you're right, maybe you're wrong, and everything in my perspective shows that you are the asshole. But I'm tired of suffering. I am tired of suffering. So let's just get together and eat and have fun. Okay? And let go of the hatred. So we can start sharing again. Because when we share, I love you. I take this bread, I love you. I love you. Look, how can I prove to you I love you? I'm giving you resources that I am losing. I won't have them. I'm saying that you are important more than myself. So forgiveness and charity in the experience, as the soul experiences, are always similar. Is this feeling of I am giving you something, I have to love you. It has to be a proof that I really acknowledge you to be my equal, because I had a full bread and now I have half of it, you know? So you can have a half bread too, okay? It's affirming that you love in a friendly fashion, you know? The same way that Raphael also was like brotherly and sisterly and friendly. We'll go further with Haniel in this experience that there is a love. Less defined. It's not a friend, a brother, sister, a parent, a child, or nor a lover. It's another being. It's another being. Without the defined relationship, and it's just to interact, to confirm this free flowing of oneness, where Haniel expresses that part of nature that's so wonderful. That part of the human nature, we might say, because we're human and we look at it from a human point of view. The human nature, to find it beautiful. Okay? And it initiates a movement in your mind to go and make peace with your ego. And even appreciate yourself as a being. That is the entire experience of Haniel. Okay? So the forgiveness, is it really I forgive you, I forgive myself? Forgiveness is a state of being. I wish to stop suffering. I want to rejoice. Simplicity. And only someone who has grasped this power can forgive, because ultimately only God can forgive. Someone asks for forgiveness. Just invest yourself with that power of being so happy that someone wants to stop suffering, that they beg for forgiveness, and poof, you put that power in there, grace of God comes. Because we're in love. Because that there is love. Because we have chosen to stop suffering. Stop being stuck in the ego. And if we do this in a non-prudent manner, in a proud manner, we will eventually end up with the suffering of luxury, which is you enjoy a lot, that you start to disregard the other virtues, you lose your balance, you fall on the right pillar, well, the left pillar from our point of view, and you go and you become enslaved to sensuality and extreme sports, addicted to stimulation of your nervous system, food, drugs, consumption of resources, all these wonderful and noble resources that can be wisely consumed to produce a feeling of satisfaction, and the body will feel it wonderfully. Okay, so the ascetic practices are not for everyone, and they are meant to bring out other levels of wisdom. But at the level of Haniel, it means that you have the right to entertain your mind with a story, with an inspiring telling, a movie, with something inspiring your mind to play, to enjoy various ways. You have the right to do that. Huh? Breathe and contemplate. Haniel. You want this one to sink in. There are many different aspects to Haniel, but they all end up in the feeling of receiving its grace. And it is through the receiving of the grace of God that forgiveness simply happens. So if you want the divine supernatural power of forgiveness, so you can eventually go and give this to others, feel Haniel. And the universe will bow at your feet and provide you what you really need. Because this is the grace of God for you to receive that. Receiving the grace of God, Haniel. The joy of His presence, the celebration of being alive. come back. And we take a moment to relax, and we'll take a little break again.